Okay, so we see that we've got this fluid grid developing. Works great when it's wider, not working so great once we get too narrow. So we need to use a media query to tell it to let these span 1/3 go ahead and fill up more than 1/3 when we get below a certain width. And honestly, I think we're going to have it break when it breaks below 768 pixels, because right here it would be just fine to have those things go ahead and fill out their available width. Now, we're able to see enough because of our nice little media query reporter that we don't really need this color on our container anymore. It's really interfering with things. So I'm going to remove that background color from our container. Just delete that line. And that looks better. And now I'm going to set up a media query. Now, notice what happens when I just remove the width specification from that span 1/3. The same thing is going to happen that happened to the container. It's going to fill its available width. So I'm going to comment out that width of 30% and just let it be full width. Now this is between 480 to 768 pixels wide. That's not too bad there. And then notice, of course, it's going to keep on stretching out, and that is bad. So what we want to have happen is for that span 1/3 to actually take up only 1/3 of our available width once we get above 768 pixels wide. So I'm going to build that media query around that width. So we want to bring this width back. I'm going to undo that commenting out, but I'm going to now wrap this rule inside a media query. So remember, this is written at media. Let me zoom in a little bit here. At media, only screen, and parentheses min width of 768 pixels. There we go. And I'm going to wrap this entire rule in the curly braces for that media query. So now our span 1/3 by default is simply going to fill up the full width that's available to it, because that's what it does by default without any width specified. And then once we get above 768 pixels, we will have it kick in at a width of 30%. Let's save that and see how that works. Here we are, we're above 768, so let's refresh and see what happens. There, they snap into place. These are going to stretch to fill the width as we go wider, including above 1024. But then as we come down and reach below 768, they're going to break and fill up their full available width. This is going to provide a layout that's going to work on our narrower devices just great. So that's what we wanted. We wanted a fluid grid that's going to flex to fill available space, but then when we don't have enough room for these elements, we're going to let it break by using a media query to tell it when to adjust the rules to make things fit as they should. And that's the point. Now, we've successfully created ourselves a CSS3 media query reporter. It's working nicely for us. We've built a fluid grid that is responsive. There's one more touch we need to add. If we're going to make our site truly responsive and be able to work across devices, we need to add a line to our HTML that adjusts the viewport to be a scale of 1. So this is something that's talked about in Marquardt's book, Responsive Web Design. And it's also provided as an essential part of the HTML5 boilerplate. And the way this works is this. We're going to set our viewport in our HTML with a meta tag that sets width equal to device width and an initial scale of 1. And if you go and look at the index file I've provided for you, here it is, you'll find that we've got that provided right here on line 13 and 14, including with a short link that takes you to where the folks at the HTML5 boilerplate discuss this. So we've got meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device width, and initial scale equals 1. And with that, you've got the tools you need to go out and build yourself a nice fluid and responsive grid.